I'm sorry for the unappealing meal my unattractive daughter-in-law has prepared. My mother-in-law scolded me in front of our relatives during my father-in-law's 60th birthday celebration. She's not only unattractive, but also inept. I'm truly ashamed. What a disaster. Where was my dependable husband, who always cared for me? Was he tending to our daughter? He was nowhere to be found. As soon as I arrived at my in-laws' house, feeling fit as a fiddle, my mother-in-law suddenly complained of chronic back pain and became unable to move as the party preparation began. She delegated all the preparation work to me. Later, she continued to belittle me in front of our gathered relatives who were there to celebrate my father-in-law. She turned the once lively and cheerful mood into something resembling a wake. Then, my father-in-law stood up and broke the silence.
Is that all you have to say?
No one could have foreseen the series of unimaginable events that this single phrase would trigger. I'm Sarah, and I'm 35 years old. 6 years ago, I married my husband, Michael, who is 3 years younger than me. We also have a 5-year-old daughter. My mother-in-law seemed displeased with me since I was older than her son. Every time we visited her house during New Year's, Memorial Day, or national holidays, she'd make sarcastic remarks at me in my husband's absence. I wish I had a younger, vibrant, and cuter daughter-in-law, not a woman full of age spots like you. Do I really look that old? Yes, very! Don't you see your own face in the mirror every day? It does hurt to be criticized about your appearance, especially as a woman. But I thought it was better not to make a big deal of it since we had only met a few times a year. However, this seemed to irritate her even more and she began to use more harsh words. You're quite thick-skinned for an old woman. You don't get upset no matter what I say. I find it annoying that you don't show a shred of modesty. Yeah. What should I say to my mother-in-law, who only says things that make me feel at a loss for words? In front of my husband, she hides her true dark nature and speaks kind words to me. My husband seems to have no idea that I'm being mistreated by her. But if I were to accidentally vent my frustrations, I would likely be the one blamed, so I've always held back. Visiting the house with my mother-in-law present felt truly burdensome. However, it was a significant celebration for my kind father-in-law's 60th birthday. Many relatives were gathering, and we were having a grand event, so I decided to attend. My father-in-law is a quiet man who doesn't talk much, but he wraps me in his subtle kindness. When I'm feeling down because of my mother-in-law's nasty words, he gently approaches me and speaks to me.
Sarah, if you're having a hard time, feel free to tell me. If it's alright, I'd like to be there for you.
I wonder if my father-in-law realized that I was being harassed by my mother-in-law. But to protect me from further harassment behind the scenes, he consciously refrained from openly supporting me. To celebrate such a warm-hearted father-in-law, our family left early in the morning and drove 3 hours to our in-laws' house. I was feeling a bit under the weather with the low-grade fever and lingering fatigue, so my husband, Michael, took it upon himself to do all the driving. On reaching my in-laws' place, my mother-in-law stepped lightly out of the front door with a gleeful expression. Well, well, look who's here. It's been a while. Michael, you should show your face more often. Oh dear, you look tired.
Well, I've been driving non-stop, so it can't be helped.
I see, you've worked hard. I'll get the bed ready right away. Why don't you go rest in the back room?
I think I'll take you up on that. Sarah, you should get a rest too. You've been taking care of the kid in the car. You must be tired. Besides, you don't seem well.
Oh dear, Michael, you didn't know? I called Sarah yesterday and we planned to go shopping together for the 60th birthday celebration. You go and rest. Sarah, once you've put the luggage at the entrance, we'll head out. Of course, no such communication had come, and I don't remember making any such shopping promise. Having looked after our energetic 5-year-old daughter, I'm exhausted, and since I'm not feeling well, I'd like to rest too.
Since Sarah's not feeling well, let her rest. The shopping can be done by you.
But it's your father's big celebration. I want to choose the best ingredients with Sarah. Sarah, you'll keep your promise with me, right? She certainly knows how to make a good excuse. Without giving me a chance to refuse after setting down the luggage, she forcefully pulled me by the arm and shoved me back into the car we had just gotten out of. Then, glaring at me fiercely, she snapped, I don't think you need time to rest. However, right after that, she switched her expression to a big smile and loudly said, Thank you for driving the car. I'm so happy. Knowing my mother-in-law, if I opposed her now, it would surely make the whole day a disaster. I reluctantly got into the driver's seat. I'm fine, so Michael, you just rest. I'll go shopping with mother-in-law. As I tried to hand over our daughter to Michael, mother-in-law took my daughter from my arms and swiftly seated her in the child seat, quickly closing the door. Looking after the child is a mother's duty. Well, Michael, we're off. Once she got into the passenger seat, her sweet tone from before completely changed as she started berating me, So, you can't even look after your child properly? Stop using Michael for your convenience. You're just an incompetent daughter-in-law who's only aged. What was terrifying was that she maintained a sweet facade since Michael was still nearby. Oblivious to all this, Michael waved us goodbye. I drove my unfamiliar husband's car toward a large supermarket. Of course, there was no way mother-in-law would stay quiet during the drive, and she started lecturing me right away. I'll make you regret lazing around while making my son drive. Mother-in-law, please don't say such scary things. I've been feeling feverish and fatigued since this morning. Your poor health is due to your bad management. Also, your crow's feet have increased, and the spots on your cheeks have darkened. I can't even bear to look, and your skin has lost its elasticity. I had lost all my energy to respond to her harsh words, and barely managed to arrive at the supermarket, nodding along the way. This is really exhausting. I wonder how all the other daughter-in-laws in the world manage to endure such treatment from their mothers-in-law. My high-spirited mother-in-law, without even a word of thanks, jumped out of the car and swiftly handed me 2 shopping carts. You're so slow! Get a move on! When I tried to avoid the crowds, she swiftly moved forward, filling the shopping basket with luxury foods like USDA prime beef, crab, salmon roe, and melons. And then she started to add in things clearly not needed for the day. Mother-in-law, do we need these urgently? I asked. We're bulk buying, so we don't have to come to the supermarket again and again. You should know that without being told, she replied. Feeling helpless, I let her do as she pleased. By the time we finished shopping, the 2 baskets were piled high. We're going to check out. Hurry up, stop dilly-dallying. Despite her rush, when it came time to pay at the counter, my mother-in-law showed no intention of taking out her wallet. Mother-in-law, the payment, I began, but with her hands folded behind her, she didn't move an inch. When I asked for the money again, she glared at me and got angry. You should pay for everything. Excuse me? I stammered. As a wife, it's your duty to entertain your husband's father. Don't be stingy and just pay. I ended up having to pay a total of $300 at the cash register to avoid making a scene. Not having any cash on me, I paid with my credit card. As a part-time worker trying to raise a child, this was a significant blow to my finances. And to make matters worse, I had brought $300 as a birthday gift for my father-in-law's 60th birthday, but I couldn't use that. The expense meant I would have to cut back even more on our living costs in the future, and the burden that had already been heavy just became even heavier. I wonder how I should tell this to Michael. If I report this, mother-in-law might cause a fuss. During the car ride home, my mother-in-law kept hurling insults at me. It was almost impressive how many different insults she could come up with. By the time we arrived home, my husband was still asleep, probably due to exhaustion. Upon seeing this, my mother-in-law smiled slyly and began to take advantage of me. After you put away the groceries, go weed the garden right away. Please, can I rest a bit? You have no right to defy your mother-in-law. This is the consequence for making Michael drive alone. So this is what you meant by making me regret, I murmured. If you have time to move your mouth, just go and move your hands. Hurry up, we're short on time. After weeding, clean the bathroom and the toilet. Despite the unfairness of the situation, I had no choice but to endure it for the day. I weeded the garden and then cleaned the grimy, yellow-stained bathroom and toilet, thinking that once the 60th birthday celebration was over, I wouldn't have to see my mother-in-law for a while. My husband woke up just as I had finished cleaning and looked surprised to see me.
Sarah, are you okay? If you're not feeling well, don't overwork yourself. Take a break now.
Thank you. I'll take you up on that offer.
Ouch! That hurts!
Just as I was about to lie down, my mother-in-law suddenly let out a loud yell, clutching her back. Although she had been lively just moments before, she started complaining about sudden back pain. My mother-in-law, who always presented gentle demeanor in front of my husband, suddenly let out a weak voice.
This is troublesome. My back hurts so much, I can't do anything. My chronic back pain has flared up again. I won't be able to cook before the relatives gather. Sarah, you're my only hope. But oh, what should I do?
As much as her sorrowful demeanor seemed a bit staged, if her chronic back pain was genuine, then it would indeed be impossible for her to stand in the kitchen. Reluctantly, I pushed my weary body, asked my husband to look after our daughter, and started cooking.
Sarah, are you sure you're okay?
I'm fine. I always cook, remember? To my husband, I put up a brave front, but my body was already fatigued. Yet, it was an important day for my father-in-law. I felt that I couldn't afford to take a break. My head is spinning, and somehow the smell of food is making me sick. But I have to keep going for my father-in-law. After I managed to finish cooking, my father-in-law came into the kitchen to check on me.
You've worked hard. Thank you for preparing all this food.
Not at all. It's for you. Please enjoy it later. After that, the relatives started gathering one after another. Everyone wished my father-in-law well, creating a lively atmosphere. As we finished the toast and were about to start eating, my mother-in-law started saying something shocking.
I'm sorry, everyone, but due to my chronic back pain flaring up on this important birthday celebration, the food was all cooked by my daughter-in-law. I apologize for the unappetizing food made by my unattractive daughter-in-law. Both my father-in-law and husband froze at my mother-in-law's sudden outburst. My daughter-in-law is not only unattractive, but she's also clumsy, a total failure. It's truly pitiful. Ouch! My mother-in-law exaggeratedly rubbed her back, continuing to disparage me. She's so clumsy that without my support, she can't do anything. I wonder if she can even take care of her own child. I'm so worried about whether Michael can manage with such a woman as his wife. What was supposed to be a festive atmosphere quickly turned gloomy, resembling more of a wake than a celebration. My usually supportive husband, who was supposed to be looking after our daughter, was nowhere to be found. At that moment, my father-in-law, who had been sitting quietly, suddenly stood up.
Is that all you wanted to say?
Huh?
Seems like it. Maybe. We should kick out the useless one then.
Following his words, my husband entered the room, holding our daughter in a suitcase. His face was unusually stern.
Dad, as you said, I've packed her stuff.
My mother-in-law smiled at the sight, seemingly pleased.
Sarah, looks like you're getting kicked out.
But to her surprise, my husband handed the suitcase to her.
What?
My father-in-law's booming voice added the final blow.
Take that and get out of this house right away!
Although she seemed unable to comprehend what was happening, my mother-in-law quickly understood the situation.
Why should I be the one kicked out? It's Sarah who's useless.
The bathroom is always covered in mold, the toilet left dirty, and you call Sarah useless when you barely cook anything, not to mention how harshly you've been treating her. I've had enough.
It's the mother-in-law's duty to discipline the daughter-in-law. I was only pointing out her shortcomings.
Discipline? What era do you think we're living in?
Realizing that an angry father-in-law, eyebrows raised, wouldn't take her side, mother-in-law turned to her usual theatrics and began crying to my husband.
Michael, don't misunderstand. We might need to take care of your father someday, right? So, I was teaching Sarah how to be a good wife, as tough as that was.
Take care of him? That's a laugh. I won't be fooled by you anymore. You've just been bullying Sarah. Even today, despite feeling unwell, she came along to celebrate Dad's 60th birthday.
Sarah volunteered to celebrate, didn't she?
Don't lie. You also made her pay for the groceries, didn't you? I found a receipt from today in her bag when she was trying to take out candies for our daughter. It shows that Sarah paid with her credit card.
I just asked her to pay because I didn't have any cash on hand. I was planning to pay her back, honestly.
Really? If I hadn't noticed, you would have just kept quiet. I've turned a blind eye to the common mother-in-law and daughter-in-law issues, but you're going too far. I'm fed up with living with a spiteful old woman.
Seeing my husband and father-in-law turn away from her, mother-in-law began to blame me with all her usual acting prowess, tears streaming down her face.
So, Sarah has been making false accusations about me. That's terrible. You're all making me the villain.
No, I haven't said anything, but it's a fact that you've been bullying me, isn't it? For the sake of father-in-law and my husband, who had gone to great lengths for me, I gathered the courage and spoke the truth for the first time. I would no longer let mother-in-law have her way.
That's right. We heard about it from Mia. We also know about the nasty comments you made about Sarah at the supermarket and in the car. Afterwards, you made Sarah do all the weeding and cleaning the bathroom and the toilet.
Yeah, Grandma was mean to Mommy. She made her clean a lot of places. You can't trust what a child says.
Mia doesn't lie. Let's check the dash cam footage. That should clear everything up. Michael, could you do that?
Good idea, Sarah. I'll do that right away.
What is that?
Ignoring his mother's question, Michael went to the car parked outside, started the engine, and began playing the dash cam footage. The latest device, which can also record the inside of the car, was installed, so even facial expressions were clear.
Ah, it's showing. She was saying these things. I'm shocked. Everyone, come over here and watch this.
Relatives who had followed to see what was happening all checked the footage. Upon viewing, they began to comment.
This is terrible indeed.
Wow, this is the worst. Mother-in-law, who had stayed in the house insisting she wasn't at fault, began to panic as the atmosphere grew tense and ran barefoot toward the car. Everyone was taken aback by her swift movements, despite her supposed back pain. So, the back pain was just an act then.
I'm all better now.
After casually responding to my words, she tried to awkwardly seat herself in the driver's seat to turn off the dash cam, but she was firmly held by my father-in-law, making it impossible for her to move.
Stop this right now. Don't look at them.
But it was too late. No amount of yelling could help her. With all her misdeeds exposed, my mother-in-law, stunned and speechless, sank down helplessly. That's when my father-in-law casually handed her a single piece of paper.
I filled in my part. You just need to write your part and submit it.
What? Isn't this a divorce form?
I had it prepared just in case. I never thought I'd have to use it. Don't ever cross my doorstep again.
Wait a minute. I promise to stop harassing Sarah. Please forgive me.
The sight of my mother-in-law begging for forgiveness with tears in her eyes was truly pitiful. But this too was likely an act. I firmly pushed my mother-in-law away. You let the cat out of the bag about bullying your daughter-in-law at the end. I will never forgive you. You might want to leave before the neighbors gather around.
Oh no. This is terrible.
The commotion attracted the attention of neighbors who watched from a distance. Perhaps not wanting to make a scene, she promptly took the divorce form and suitcase, and her supposed back pain was nowhere to be found. She rushed out of the garden. The villain had been dealt with, but I returned home filled with guilt. I'm sorry for all this during your 60th birthday celebration, Dad. When I earnestly apologized, he responded,
Sarah, you did nothing wrong. I'm sorry for all the trouble we've caused. Let's start over.
My father-in-law smiled. The relatives also watched with kind expressions. Later, they praised the dishes I had prepared and ate heartily. At that moment, all the fatigue seemed to fly away. Thus, we celebrated my father-in-law's 60th birthday in a grand manner. My mother-in-law, who was initially reluctant to agree to the divorce, eventually agreed, and they divorced amicably. It was also revealed that she had been misappropriating funds from my father-in-law's account, and she was ordered to repay $10,000 that she had spent recklessly. Unable to find work due to her lack of experience, she now works as a janitor in an office building late at night. With barely any money left, she lives in a rundown apartment that's seen better days. On the other hand, I found out that I was pregnant with my second child. It seemed that the feeling of discomfort I had earlier was due to my pregnancy. 5 months have passed since then, and my husband Michael has been very caring. The ultrasound revealed that we're expecting a boy. Both Michael and my father-in-law are looking forward to his arrival. Already excited, my father-in-law sent over blue baby clothes. My adorable daughter is overjoyed at the thought of having a younger brother and practices taking care of a baby with her dolls every day. Watching her gives me immense happiness.